pilots take to the sky in 100,000 commercial flights all over the world. Statistically, it's the safest way to travel. But decades of evidence have revealed we may not be the world's only frequent flyers. More and more, our commercial aircraft are coming face to face with the unknown.
Bracing himself for impact, the pilot only had time to shout to his crew, "Look out, look out."
With passenger demand expected to double in the next 20 years, the human race may soon be on a collision course with extraterrestrials who may have claimed our airspace for their own. Are we in danger of losing control of our skies to beings from another world? How much do authorities know? And what aren't they telling us? From mid-air abductions to near disasters caused by unseen enemies, join us as the terrifying truth about Earth's alien skies is unsealed. A global effort has begun. Secret files hidden from the public for decades, detailing every UFO account, are now available to the public. We are about to uncover the truth behind these classified documents. Find out what the government doesn't want you to know. Unsealed. Alien Files. Exposing the biggest secret on planet Earth. Athens, Greece, November 11th, 2007. Olympic Airways Flight 266 has just taken off on a late-night flight bound for London when the pilot spots something unusual to the west. It's an incredibly bright, star-like object with a constantly shifting shape. But the airport control tower's radar tells a different story. Shortly after, 2 other flights in the area report the same object. And the situation escalates even further when the Greek Air Force makes visual contact with the object from their radar station high on nearby Mount Parnitha. But their instruments, like those at the airport, detect nothing out of the ordinary. 2 F-16 fighter jets prepare for takeoff with orders to intercept the UFO and make a positive identification. But according to officials, they later return to base empty-handed. The UFO has disappeared into the night. The Greek government launches an investigation into the incident, but withholds its findings for over a year without explanation. When the government does release the report, it quickly retracts the document only moments later. It then reappears with significant portions of original text removed. Clearly, there is something the Greek government doesn't want the public to know. Leaked copies of the original document reveal that 2 additional radar stations tracked the object, and that the ranking officer at the Mount Parnitha station watched with his own eyes as the UFO climbed and raced out of sight at incredible speed, just as the F-16s approached. With this key evidence removed, the Greek government's official conclusion is that what all parties saw was in fact the planet Venus, which after the moon is the brightest object in the night sky. It's a shocking government cover-up. But when it comes to civilian aircraft encountering UFOs, it's hardly the first. Reporting a UFO can often cost a pilot their professional reputation, along with their license. But when these threats fail, and they do go on the record, governments have their own way of responding. Unsealed case file, Japan Airlines, Flight 1628. Anchorage, Alaska, November 17th, 1986. Captain Kenju Terauchi, an ex-fighter pilot with years of flying experience, and the crew of Japan Airlines Cargo Flight 1628 are en route from Paris to Narita, Japan. It's a routine flight until 2 UFOs appear right in front of the plane. The crew watches in shock as the 2 UFOs then merge with a huge walnut-shaped UFO before they disappear. In the weeks after the incident, Terauchi tells his incredible story to Japanese journalists. But the PR damage has already been done, and the airline quickly grounds him. A week later, John Callahan, then a division chief with the Federal Aviation Administration, attends a special meeting of the FBI, CIA, and the president's own scientific study team to review the Anchorage incident.
When they get done, the CIA guy standing next to me says to the people, "This event never happened. We were never here. We're confiscating all this data, and you're all sworn to secrecy."
Why is the government covering up such compelling evidence? Are they afraid the general population will realize that we cannot control our own airspace? Coming up, we expose some of the most terrifying mid-air UFO airplane encounters on record. This is Unsealed Alien Files, exposing the biggest secret on planet Earth. Welcome back to Unsealed Alien Files. For decades, commercial aircraft have encountered UFOs during routine scheduled flights. Are the world's skies no longer our own? And if they aren't, what disastrous consequences possibly await passengers all over the world? Melbourne, Australia, October 21st, 1978. 20-year-old pilot Frederick Valentich takes off in a light aircraft on a flight across the Bass Strait between South Australia and Tasmania. His destination is nearby King Island. 45 minutes into the flight, Valentich radios in to the local air authority to ask if there are any other aircraft in his vicinity. They see nothing on their radar, but Valentich says he has spotted a large unidentified aircraft flying 1,000 feet above, and it appears to be following him. Air traffic controllers can only listen helplessly as the young pilot describes the terrifying scene as it unfolds. The UFO speeds toward his aircraft and begins a series of dangerous close approaches. He describes the craft as long, with a shiny metal surface. Control responds, asking Valentich how he intends to proceed. He replies that his intention is to continue on course to King Island. Moments later, the young pilot calls in to report the UFO is hovering on top of him again, adding that it is definitely not an aircraft. It would be his last transmission. Controllers then hear a series of chilling, metallic scraping sounds, followed by silence. Air and sea rescue teams are quickly dispatched to search the sea for signs of Valentich or his aircraft, but no trace of either will ever be found. The official report into his disappearance is inconclusive, and despite the compelling UFO evidence from the radio transcript, the case is considered closed. Frederick Valentich was one pilot, alone, flying a small plane. What might happen if a UFO attempted to abduct a commercial flight filled with hundreds of passengers? The truth is, it may have already happened. Unsealed case file. Flight 94. Syracuse, New York, March 12, 1977. A DC-10 carrying 200 passengers from Boston to San Francisco is flying on autopilot when it suddenly makes an unplanned 15-degree bank to the left. The autopilot is normally controlled by a compass built into the tip of the left wing. But looking out across its span, pilot Neil Daniels and his two fellow flight officers quickly realize this situation is hardly normal. They all see a UFO that Daniels later describes to be as bright as a flashbulb that appears to be towing the jet in a direction of its own choosing. The DC-10 and all aboard are at the mercy of an extraterrestrial intelligence. The passengers and flight attendants are unaware of the drama unfolding in the cockpit. For 3 terrifying minutes, the flight crew scrambles to regain control while the aircraft is being dragged toward an unknown fate. But then, just as quickly as it appeared, the UFO releases the jet and disappears into the distance behind. Daniel steers the plane back on course, and the flight continues without further incidents. But the encounter will affect the pilot and crew for the rest of their lives. Daniels is warned to remain silent about the incident under threat of dismissal by the airline. He only goes public with the story after his retirement. The other members of the flight crew have refused to comment to this day. Was the Flight 94 encounter an attempted abduction, this time on a grand scale? Or is something else at work? Could these alien actions actually be threats intended to chase us out of airspace they claimed as their own? And did Frederick Valentich pay the ultimate price for refusing to turn back after being duly warned? Could aliens be protecting something inside these mysterious no-fly zones? Coming up, we investigate the terrifying possibility that aliens are taking over our skies in massive numbers. This is Unsealed Alien Files, exposing the biggest secret on planet Earth. Welcome back to Unsealed Alien Files. Many ufologists believe alien visitors are populating our skies, which has led many experts to believe they may be protecting something. The question is, what? Beebe, Arkansas, December 31st, 2010. Shortly before 10:30 p.m. on New Year's Eve, thousands of red-winged blackbirds drop from the sky across a wide area. Emergency lines light up as bewildered citizens report the deluge of lifeless birds scattering across their lawns and rooftops.
This is Mark. Can I help you? Yes, ma'am. I was wondering why all the birds are just like dying. We are trying to find that out.
Some believe the birds were poisoned. Others claim that New Year's Eve fireworks frightened the birds into plunging to their deaths. But forensic investigation points to a different cause. It finds no indication of toxins in any of the samples, but it does find internal hemorrhaging consistent with trauma. The birds have all collided with something in the sky. A radar analysis of the sky over Beebe on the night in question reveals something astonishing. It's a massive anomalous shape looming directly over the kill zone. But what is this object hiding in the night sky over the southern United States? Some experts believe they already know. Unsealed case file. The Stephenville Lights. Stephenville, Texas, January 8th, 2008. Multiple witnesses claim they see mysterious lights in the sky. At the same time, Steve Allen is flying a small plane in the area. He too sees the lights, later describing them as glowing orbs. But then, suddenly he realizes the orbs are flying in formation before an enormous UFO that Allen estimates to be 1.5 miles long and 0.5 mile wide.
You look at that and you can only describe it as a main mothership type scenario where you have not one craft, but another one come out of the side, another one come out of the other side.
Rick Sorrells is hunting in the woods when he too witnesses the mothership pass just 300 feet over his head. He describes it as a seamless metal craft the size of 3 football fields. Sorrells later states publicly, "I hope it's our military. If it's not ours, then we're in trouble." But according to Steve Allen, the military knew of the massive UFO. During his encounter, he saw 2 fighter jets in hot pursuit. Federal Aviation Administration radar records confirm the eyewitness reports, revealing a massive anomaly over the Stephenville area that night. The U.S. military claims to be unaware of any activity in the area. But an independent mutual UFO network investigation has allegedly uncovered evidence that radar information collected by military planes in the area that night may have been inexplicably deleted. But how could a mothership fly undetected in our skies?
Some UFO believers point to the fact that some of the most compelling photos only show up after the event, that the witness sees nothing unusual at the time. Does this mean that the UFOs are somehow cloaked? Some people believe that the UFOs are able to mask their presence so that they can't be seen by witnesses.
Do UFO motherships lurk in our skies, appearing and disappearing at will? And given that mass bird deaths, like the one in Beebe, Arkansas, are known to happen all over the world, how many could there be? Coming up, we investigate what might happen when we return to the most legendary airspace known to man. This is Unsealed Alien Files, exposing the biggest secret on planet Earth. Welcome back to Unsealed Alien Files. Decades of close encounters between commercial aircraft and UFOs have led many experts to believe aliens have invaded our airspace and established a regular presence there. But what would happen if we invaded their airspace? How would they react? Many experts think we may in fact already know their chilling response. On July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11 landed on the moon, a milestone event in human history, broadcast to millions around the world. But for 2 minutes, the live transmission failed, and what transpired during those missing moments may determine the future of the human race.
Now, there has been some unofficial radio communications that have been circulated saying that they saw 2 UFOs flying over a crater on the moon, along with other structures.
NASA later blamed the transmission failure on a simple camera malfunction. But could it have been caused by something else? Could extraterrestrials have sabotaged the camera to conceal their presence from the people of Earth? NASA hasn't returned to the moon since 1972. Is it possible they were warned to stay away once and for all by aliens already established there? And what would happen if we failed to heed that warning? Recently, China has announced much bigger ambitions for its space program, intending to launch a manned mission to the moon by the year 2020. Some space experts believe the nation intends to establish permanent mining operations on Earth's natural satellites. But many in the UFO community fear that when the Chinese land, they will find that an otherworldly presence may have already claimed the moon's mineral riches for their own. What will the alien response be here on Earth if we once again violate their airspace on the moon? This is Unsealed Alien Files, exposing the biggest secret on planet Earth.